Everyone was moved to tears by Vivian Vance's last talk. It was July 26, 1909 in the small Kansas town of Cherryvale, where Vivian Vance was born as Vivian Ribera Jones. In that town, everyone knew everyone else, and life moved slowly but steadily. Born to Robert and Euphemia Jones, she was welcomed into the world by them. They did their best to raise their growing family with traditional values and order. Vivian was the middle child of 6, and her early attitude was shaped by living in a busy home. It was always loud, moving, and full of sister chatter, and Vivian quickly learned how to be heard. Vivian's family moved to Independence, Kansas, when she was 6 years old. It was a bigger town that gave her more options. She went to Independence High School and found theater classes there for the first time. Her family had no idea that this interest outside of school would spark a strong creative force inside her that would change her whole life. She felt alive, seen, and understood on stage in a way that nothing else had. Even though Vivian was becoming more and more interested in acting, her mother was very against the idea. Euphemia had a traditional conservative view of the world. She thought that being a young woman in the theater business was dangerous, and not a good idea. Her dislike was so strong that it made their home tense all the time. Vivian wasn't quick to give up though. There was an unmistakable streak of freedom in her that grew stronger when pushed. Her rebellion wasn't crazy or risky though. It was done on plan. She changed her last name to Vance as a sign that she was ready to build her own life. She did odd jobs and other small things to help her reach her goal. She would sneak out of her bedroom window late at night and into the cool Kansas nights to practice, try out for roles, or just think about things that weren't possible for her. She finally went to Albuquerque, New Mexico to try to become a professional actress because she wanted to give the craft her full attention. Vivian's big break came in 1930, when she was in a show at the Albuquerque Little Theater. It was a simple start, but it was hers, so it mattered. After that, things picked up speed. Vivian started to act in a number of local shows, such as musicals and plays like This Thing Called Love and The Cradle Song. The theater community in New Mexico always loved her shows. They saw in her what her mother couldn't: talent, dedication, and that spark of something special. Directors and other players loved how hard she worked, and how nice she was. People in the theater community raised money to send her to New York City to study with the famous actress Ava Legalin. It was one of the most important signs of support she received when she was young. It was an action that changed her fate. Vivian jumped right into the busy world of New York theater with a lot of energy and drive. In 1932, she started working on Broadway. At first, she was in the chorus, which was hard on the body and not always recognized, but it taught her discipline and stage presence. She started with small roles and worked her way up, which helped her improve her comedic timing and dramatic skills. She moved up from the chorus line and into more important parts when she got a supporting role in the musical Hooray for What, in 1937. Her first big hit on stage came in 1941, when she played Nancy Kister in Cole Porter's musical Let's Face It. Many people praised her performance, which helped solidify her image as a talented comedic actress with a warm, approachable stage presence. In 1947, Vivian moved to California, just as Hollywood was getting big. Her first steps into the world of film came after years of hard work in theater. In 1950, her first movie role was as a chambermaid named Leah in The Secret Fury. It was a small part, but it was a start. Soon after, she played Elysia in The Blue Veil. Her work in movies never got as big as her work on stage and TV, but these parts showed how versatile she was and how much she wanted to keep trying new things in the entertainment business. Her life changed when she played the lead role in the play, The Voice of the Turtle. When Desi Arnaz and director Jess Oppenheimer saw her on stage, they were struck by how naturally funny she was. They were looking for the right actress to play Ethel Mertz on their new TV show, I Love Lucy. The character of Ethel was meant to be older and less glamorous than Vivian, but Desi was sure that Vivian was the best choice. In every way, he was right. I Love Lucy first aired on American TV in 1951 and quickly became a hit with fans all over the country. Ethel was played by Vivian as loyal, funny, a little patient, and brilliantly reactive. She became an instant fan favorite. The show ran for 7 very popular years and became one of the most famous sitcoms in American history. Vivian kept talking about how much she loved her character even after the original series finished. She played Ethel Mertz again on Texaco Star Theater in 1954. Again, from 1957 to 1960, she was the star of the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour, where millions of fans could see Ethel's wit and kindness. When Lucille Ball came back to TV in 1960 with the new show The Lucy Show, she wanted Vivian to be there with her. At first, Vivian wasn't sure. People kept calling her Ethel instead of her real name, Vivian Vance, which made her angry. She finally decided to be on the show, but only if her character's name was changed from Ethel to Vivian. She got what she asked for, which let her become a different person while still sharing her obvious chemistry with Lucille Ball, who had become one of her best friends by that time. Vivian got a part in the popular 1965 comedy The Great Race after The Lucy Show finished. The movie was nominated for several Academy Awards. Unfortunately, the movie didn't do much to help her film career, which had always been less important to her than her success on TV and in the theater. From 1968 to 1972, she was a guest star on Lucille Ball's next show, Here's Lucy. This continued the creative relationship that had been going on for decades and had been a big part of her career. She was also in a number of other TV shows such as The Red Skeleton Show, Guest Ward, Hov, To See the Wizard, and the popular comedy Roa. In 1972, she did voice work for the cartoon TV show The Lorax, which was another thing she could do. She was in more TV shows over the next few years like The Front Page, The Great Houdini, and Getting Away from It All. In the TV show Lucy Calls the President, she played Vivian, formerly Ethel, for the last time, which was her last appearance as that famous character. In 1978, she made her last TV debut in the show Sam. It was the end of a long, rich, and memorable career. It was like Vivian Vance's real life was full of ups and downs and emotional chapters, just like the roles she played on screen. Over the years she was in a number of relationships. Eventually she got married 4 times, and each marriage marked a very different time in her life. Joseph Danick Jr. was the name of her first husband. They got married in 1928. Vivian was still finding her place in the world at the time. She was driven and eager to show how good she was as an actor. Getting married seemed like a good way to become stable. But it wasn't long before the stresses of her new job and the realities of young love made things hard for her. After 3 years of trying to balance home life with her growing love for the stage, the pair got a divorce. Vivian learned early on that her path would require her to make sacrifices. She tried to get married again in 1933, this time with George Cub. She was more established and sure of herself by that time, but the show business world kept pulling her in strange ways. They stayed together for a few years, through both good and bad times in Vivian's personal and work life as her responsibilities grew. Even though they tried their best, her busy schedule and steady drive to do well started to put a strain on their marriage. Finally, the couple broke up in 1940, ending a relationship that had had both happy times and growing difficulties. There were a lot of ups and downs in her third marriage, which began in 1941 with actor Philip Ober, and lasted almost 20 years. At first glance, the fact that they both worked in the same business seemed to bring them together naturally. The first few years they were together were full of the excitement of working in the same field, but as time went on, the marriage had more and more problems. They didn't get along, and the stresses of Hollywood and the expectations put on Vivian during her I Love Lucy years made things even worse. Their marriage lasted 18 years, but it wasn't easy. When they got divorced in 1959, it was the end of a long and often painful trip for Vivian. Still, love found its way back to her. The editor John Dodds married Vivian Vance on January 16, 1961. His steady, calm presence gave her life a new sense of balance. She found a relationship with him that was kinder and more helpful than any other she had been in before. After a while, they found peace in Connecticut, away from the bright lights of Hollywood and the fast-paced life of the film business. It was during this calmer time that Vivian faced one of the hardest times in her life. She was told she had cancer. Dodds was there for her through every doctor's visit, every sleepless night, and every moment of uncertainty. He was her source of strength and loyalty. People still speak quietly and with respect about Vivian Vance's last interview. It is a moment in Hollywood history that will never be forgotten. Celebrities don't just sit down to talk about their past jobs or promote new projects. This showed Vivian's heart in a way she didn't usually let people see. When she was done, Everyone there, from the people carrying boom mics to the interviewer sitting across from her, had tears in their eyes. It was almost holy in that small room. Everyone there knew they were seeing the last great burst of light from a woman whose kindness and skill had defined an age. She spoke quietly but clearly, thinking about the events that had a big impact on her life. When she said, "I never expected to be remembered," it hit her like a punch in the chest. The honesty of that statement from someone who had been on one of the most famous TV shows in U.S. history made everyone in the room stop moving. She talked about how she went from being poor in Kansas to being under a lot of pressure in Hollywood. She said there were times when she thought everyone expected her to be Ethel Mertz all the time. She also said, "People saw me as the funny friend who cleaned up the mess. Off screen though, I was still trying to figure out who I was." Because of how honest they were, every shell of fame fell off, leaving only the person underneath. Her voice was shaking with love as she talked about Lucille Ball. "Lucy saved my life more than once," Vivian said. And the line wasn't meant to be emotional. It was true. They laughed, fought, made up, and talked about the deep connection they had with each other over the years. It came out in tender memories. She remembered the first table read of "I Love Lucy," when she realized she would be working with a woman who was not only a great actress but also someone who knew her better than anyone else. "We made each other brave," she said in a low voice. Even the person interviewing had to take a quick look away because they were so moved. That wasn't all it was though. Vivian was honest about the fights she had been in behind the scenes. "People think that laughing can fix everything," she said. "This includes her health, the pressures on her body image, and the loneliness that artists feel when the studio lights go out. But sometimes the only way to stay strong is to laugh." She wasn't looking for sympathy, she wanted the truth to be written down. Something honest and important that showed she had lived her life with love, purpose, and strength. At the very end, her strength started to weaken, but she insisted on finishing what she was thinking. "Vivian told me that I had done something good if I made someone feel less alone." That one simple sentence meant more than 1,000 long talks put together. People there said it felt like she was giving a gift to the viewers who had watched her shows every day for decades, not to the business or to her co-stars. No one could keep their eyes open after the cameras stopped rolling. Technicians who usually kept a serious face were wiping their faces quietly. The person interviewing her had planned so many questions that all they could do was thank her and hold her hand for a moment. She had let her guard down, and the truth of what she said, which was soft, open, and brave, covered the room like a soft blanket. Her last talk wasn't just a goodbye. It reminded me of how strongly a single life can connect with someone who is willing to be honest about what's important to them. Some people were lucky enough to see it, and they will always remember it. Vivian had a stroke in 1977 that made it hard for her to move. In her last few years, Vivian's health got worse. On August 17, 1979, she died.